Last episode, we started talking about love languages and we went over it at a very high level. This week, we're going to spend some time talking about the value of love languages. So if you want to know about the value of why these love languages are important in context, stay tuned. We'll be right back. Safehouse.
Hey, Safehouse.
We're here again.
We're here again. Happy days are here again. It's just tea. It's
got
not,
another song.
I don't have anything else in here.
There's nothing in that cup, right? So other than tea, right? Too early in the week for this
right.
one. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Safehouse, we hope you're doing well out there. We're talking love languages.
Yes. Continuing that conversation that we had from the last time.
Yeah. And this time we're going to dig into some of the value of love languages, because I know we went back and forth in terms of it's good, it's bad, it's in between, it's all of that. This week we're going to spend some time on why love languages are valuable, right? Next time we come back to you, we're going to talk about some of the limitations of looking at love languages a specific way, right? Yeah. So we're going to talk about that in a different episode, but today we're going to talk about the value. So when you look at love languages, what value do you think love languages bring?
Well, I think one of the things that they bring to the table is it kind of challenges us to look at how, like you said, we talked about this in the last episode about how we love. Like, how do we learn to love? You know, we were just talking about this before about when you're young and when you get love, you just get it.
Yeah.
And you just have to be able to take it, whether it's in a good way or a negative way.
Yeah.
You know, because some kids, they grow, some people grow up in negative situations, but they love their parents.
Yeah.
You know, because that's all you know.
Yeah.
And so you don't really have a real framework for what love is supposed to look like. Because like I said, I don't think I grew up in a bad household, but I also didn't have a framework for what it looked like.
Yeah. Or, when you got out into the world, you didn't have a framework for how to express that to someone you're in a relationship with. Right.
And so that's probably one of the strengths of the love language is that it brings vocabulary.
It does.
To that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like whenever you get for real vocabulary, now your expressions become different.
Yeah.
You come to life in a different way.
Yeah.
So to me, that is definitely one of the strengths. And like you said, and it's not just vocabulary for how I feel about you, but it also brings vocabulary to how I feel about myself, or even how we speak to each other, because I also think that it strengthens how we communicate with each other. Because like you said, these 5 love languages, we may not have the same love languages.
More than likely, we don't have the same love languages. And I think there are some misconceptions that we need to have similar love languages in order to be compatible. And that's not necessarily true. Once again, the love language is all about understanding what fills that other person's tank. Right. Now, what's really good about it is for those who start to recognize that they do have a tank that needs to be filled and that they are starting to learn about their own love languages. We're often taught that the only way, and I know from a very young child, when you do something wrong, it's always brought to you in a negative context, right?
Absolutely.
So when you did something wrong at school, you were punished. When you did something wrong in the house, there was a punishment. There's usually, it's I guess maybe in coaching situations, I know even coaching for me, it was like, did we lose our lights here for a second?
Oh no.
Yeah. I guess we had a brown.
Right.
Yeah. Great technical setup. We had a brownout and didn't even feel it.
Right.
But like for, in coaching situations, there's some positive, you can do it or whatever. But I know, my short-lived experience with sports, it was more aggressive than that, right? It was more abrasive. Get your head in the game,
Right.
What are you stupid? It's
right.
And we're often told, or at least we're instructed that correction is often in a negative context, right? And I think what love language allows us to do is understanding not just our love language, but how to communicate our love language to someone we love, right? Because, what I can start to do now is switch from a point of sort of correction to a point of education.
Right.
Right.
Because when we're frustrated
Yeah.
and things aren't going well,
yeah,
then like you said, all of my conversation is going to be correction.
Yeah.
It's going to be negative. You don't ever.
Yeah.
You know how you
always. You always. You
we
never.
use
Using absolutes language, right? Absolutes language is very. You don't never do this, or whenever we do this, you always. So no, you don't always.
And whenever you have conversations like that, they never end well.
They don't.
For either party. They never do. And so one of the things that, like I said, that I appreciate about the love languages is that when we're able to step back and I can communicate to you, say, well, babe, I know I didn't do this right, but I would have appreciated had you just said something positive to me, had you had given me a little affirmation. I need, in order for me to continue to keep doing this, I need affirmation.
Yeah.
It's kind of like we've talked about before about like when I first started teaching.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of affirmation there. But once you got it, then it was like, okay, the affirmation just started rolling. Because I still had to go through it. I still had to keep showing up and doing all those different things.
Yeah.
But once again, what you didn't realize was, okay, this is my wife's lane. And so in order for me to make sure that she stays in her lane,
right,
I'm going to affirm her.
Yeah.
And so, and that changed the conversation.
Yeah.
There was no more resentment and bitterness. It brought all of that down once we were able to communicate that.
It was. And the other big lesson out of that period in our life is that with these love languages, and I think this applies to everybody, it's not up to us to validate the other person's love language, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
Because then we do that and we don't understand why they don't nobody need all that. You just extra. You just this. Right. Don't nobody need it. And we start to make ourselves the arbiter of what that person's love language is. Yeah. And that's not very good. It's not productive.
Right. It's not productive.
That's like telling a person how they feel.
Yeah.
It's
right. And that's why I said that the value in this, because once again, it's a map.
Yeah.
And when you begin to utilize these tools, because I feel like when you're trying to go someplace in your relationship, you can get stuck.
Yeah.
Now you're at a stop sign and nobody's moving because now we're having these negative conversations, or we just don't know how to fully express to a person what it is that I need.
Yeah.
And using these tools now gives me a better way to explain to you, babe, I need quality time.
Yeah.
Babe, I need, you haven't bought me anything.
Right. You haven't washed from the last episode. You haven't washed my car in years.
Right, in years.
I really enjoy when you do service.
Really enjoy it when you do that. And so once again, but like I said, that, the Bible says a soft answer turns away wrath.
Yeah.
And so to me, that's what the love languages do.
Yeah.
They introduce soft answers.
Yeah.
So that way we won't get angry.
Yeah.
I'm not angry, you're not angry, and now the car is back on the road.
Yeah. So let me ask you all, leave in the comments, is the only way you know how to deliver information is to correct people? I want you to think back and leave in the comments.
Yeah.
Have we just been trained that the only way that we can give people feedback is to do it in a negative and a corrective way versus in a positive and educational way, right? And then I guess the greater question is, does doing that once let us off the hook, right?
Oh,
Because it's like,
wow.
I tried.
Right. I did it once.
Trying to be nice to you.
Right.
But you didn't listen to that, right? So now I got to lay the hammer down so you know how I really feel, right?
I think so. Some people do live in the one time only deal.
Right.
You know, but once again, remember we're talking about relationships.
Yeah.
And we're talking about growing, and we're actually talking about movement.
Yeah.
And so once again, the right language allows us to move forward instead of putting the car in reverse.
Yeah.
Or you know how like when you're mad at your person, you be like, you know, just let me out.
Yeah, just leave me alone.
Just
don't
I'll
touch. Yeah, don't touch me. I'll walk home.
Right?
Yeah, don't.
Just forget it.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want any of the love languages.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And so, but once again, I do believe that God created us.
Yeah.
To have these different forms of expression. You know, and that God does want us to have these things.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, but we have to be able to learn because this is learning.
Yeah.
For us.
Yeah.
You know, and even in learning, there's grace.
Yeah.
Because I think too, sometimes we forget that, wait a minute, I don't, this is all new to me too.
Yeah.
And so when you recognize that it's new for both people, then you're able to give grace in those spaces.
So let's talk about grace for a second, right? Do you think that we show, and I'm not talking about our relationship specifically, but what we've experienced in talking to couples, whatever have you, and even if you want to use our own relationship, do you think we give enough grace for a person to express what fills their tank?
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
And let's dig into that a little bit, because I know especially if you grew up with any sort of trauma or self-esteem issue, or you don't know if what you like is strange or normal, you just don't know, right?
That's true.
And so you may even have reservations about saying what you enjoy, right? Or what fills your tank, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, I may be like, look, I like it when you touch my elbow right here, right? You know, I really like when you touch that elbow. And, you know, I say that, you be like, boy, what's wrong with you? You know, don't I like that crazy mess? And now I'm embarrassed, right, for expressing my love language, right? And, you know, it's like now I feel even worse because what I thought was strange, you just confirmed for me that it's strange, right? So do you think we do a good job? Well, you said no, that in giving people space and grace,
Because once again, I think we're processing that information through our own lens. And so I think whenever you're processing information through your own lens, there's no grace. Involved in that.
Yeah, because I've normalized what good behavior is.
I've normalized what a good physical touch is.
Okay.
That's weirdo-ish.
Yeah.
You know,
right.
We're not doing that.
Right.
You know, because in my mind, that's not normal.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm not even open to giving room to that.
So what's dangerous about that is that what fills my tank, I now feel abnormal about it, right? So that need never gets filled.
Right, it never gets filled.
Right. And so now there's a breach in the relationship, right?
Absolutely.
Because I have this need and I have a desire for it to get filled, but I'm not having it fulfilled from the person who's committed to fulfill it for the rest of my life.
And now you're wondering why we're not moving forward.
Yeah.
And we know couples like that are still having a hard time moving forward.
Yeah.
And I do think a big part of it is just being able to honestly communicate what love looks like for them. You know, I think that some of them are perfectly aware of what love looks like for the other person.
Yeah.
But they struggle
with
articulating what is good for them.
Yeah.
And so to me, that's the other good part about the love language is that it takes you to this place of self-awareness.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like when you're stuck, you have to be able to step back and say, okay, you really, because I've never asked myself that question. What do I love?
Right.
You know, somebody asked me that one day. They was like, well, what do you love? You know, but all of my loves kind of revolved around like, you know, my therapist asked me, well, what do you love to do? crickets.
Yeah.
You know, because I never really thought about, even like being a kid, like, what is it that I love to do? And so I was telling my therapist, I said, as I move into this next decade of my life, I want to become self-aware of the things that I love to do, you know, and to be able to communicate that to people who are in my life. Because the reality is I've created the scenario where people are just used to me going along with everything. Like, oh yeah, she'll say yes, she'll show up, she'll do all those things. Instead of really saying, you know what, I don't want to do that. I don't enjoy that. I don't love that. So I'm not going to be involved in that. And so, but like I said, that to me, it gives people that opportunity to, because I want to move forward.
But you're so good at that.
I know.
And we so value that.
That's great.
You know.
But no.
Yeah.
And that's a hard thing.
It's very hard, especially if, and goes back to multilingual, right? If one of your love languages is words of affirmation, it may distort that other, you know, thing to the point where it's like, okay, I'm getting affirmed, so let me now sign up for something that I don't like. That is true. You know, so you just got to be aware of that. But no, it's unfortunate that in life, if you don't have that self-awareness, you do wind up. You know, quick tangent real quick. There's a book out there called The Big Leap. And in the book, they talk about your zone of excellence and they talk about your zone of genius. Right. And your zone of excellence, believe it or not, it's got the word excellent attached to it, but it's the things you do really, really, really well that people get value out of. They love to see you do it, but they're not necessarily what you're built to do. They're not your zone of genius. There's things that you have that you are uniquely equipped to do, special. Only somebody like you can do them. You have the capacity to do it at a level that nobody else can do it. And what happens, unfortunately, is I see the value in your zone of excellence and I will keep you there because of the value you're bringing me, which never allows you to operate in your zone of genius. You know what I mean? And so with these love languages, having self-awareness, right? Understanding where not only is, you know, sort of what fills my tank, but my zone of genius too, now allows me to filter out these other things and even understand things that may tap into other love languages for me that may override. You know?
And what I love about what you're saying though too is because once again, remember how I said that these love languages give you an opportunity to communicate. And so like you said, when people want to see you move to your zone of genius, then the conversation once again changes. You know, these languages of love, because see, if I love you, I want the best for you. I want you to, as a matter of fact, I don't want you to just reach your full potential. I want you to exceed your potential. You know, but once again, if I keep you stuck in your excellence, because in that place, you're getting affirmation. You know, you're getting quality time. We're spending, you know, hey, I can give you all kinds of acts of service that we can do together, you know. But once again, even in those spaces, if I'm still not reaching my zone of genius, then like you said, I'm still empty.
Your tank is still empty.
And I think once again, we call it, you know, we wonder why so many people are unhappy. You know, and really it is because their tank is empty and they're looking for, I think that's sometimes, I'm not saying this is real, but that's how sometimes, like I said, especially because remember these love languages are about emotions and how I'm feeling. And so that could be what draws people away to cheat or having an emotional affair or whatever it is like that. Because because this person is now saying, oh, I see your zone of genius. So now they're giving me everything that I need.
They're filling your tank,
they're filling my tank because I'm not getting it filled with the person that God put me with. And so we have to be careful about that.
We do have to be careful about it. Now, for those that are already married, you know, we obviously know you have to invest. But for those that are on the path, really, really think about this, right? Because you know, you can't go into a relationship unless you are willing to learn the language and be willing to fill the tank. You know what I mean? That's your own personal commitment that says, okay, if I want to be married, I have to be prepared to learn a language that may be different than mine and then fill that other person's tank.
That's
which I
so
don't
good.
Yeah, I don't think
so good.
Yeah, I just don't think we
Yeah.
go into marriage. We go into marriage thinking about what we want in a person,
Yeah.
What we desire out of a person, the characteristics, the way they should. And even when we go into it, it's like, okay, I'm going to be a good husband. I'm going to be a good wife. But that's conceived based upon what we thought, right? We have not considered when we get into the relationship, this person, what is their tank?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. Or like you said, if I'm thinking I'm going to be a good wife, you know, and I'm doing all of these things, as you said before, you know, our cardio isn't
all activity is not cardio.
Right. So, and I'm doing this, and now I'm all like, oh man, you know, you should really, all this stuff I've been doing.
Right.
But it's just like, yeah, but that's not what
It's not filling my tank.
That's not filling my tank for you to be my wife.
Right.
You know, and so now, of course, that deflates me for a minute because I'm like, well, what do you mean?
Right.
But once again, like you said, it's like I like that you said we start those conversations when we're dating.
Yeah.
Because those are conversations that people probably are not having when they're dating.
Right.
You know? And the danger zone is once we're here, like I said, once we come off the whole euphoria of the marriage, you know, and getting married and stuff, and now
or even dating, right? There's dating euphoria, there's mystery, right?
There is, yeah,
and
absolutely.
so all of those things kind of cloud what fills people tank. I hide my tank when I'm dating, right? Because I don't want to, you know, we all hide
we all do. Let's be honest.
Yeah. And so, no, it's one of those critical conversations.
It is. It's so critical to be able to, and like you said, you know, we talked about this before, not that it's just the 5, but you do have to be able to express to people what it is that you need.
Yeah.
You know, like some people really need to be respected.
Yeah.
You know, even though the Bible says respect your spouse, but some people really need to be respected.
Yeah.
That makes them feel really good.
Yeah.
You know,
to feel like their position in life has weight, right? It doesn't necessarily mean they need to be a king or whatever have you, but you know, if the person is a man or a husband or whatever, they want to be respected, right? Yeah. And what's really funny is, you know, in the hood, it's all about respect, right? Don't disrespect me, right?
It is.
You know, that's the first thing you see, you know, and we process a lot of things as disrespect, right? And so even with that whole self-awareness, if respect is a love language, right? I have to understand, well, what do I interpret as respect and what do I interpret as disrespect?
Yeah.
Right?
Like for me, it's disrespectful if we're having an argument and now we're using profanity.
Yeah.
That's disrespectful.
That shuts you down.
For me.
Yeah.
You know, we can argue all day, whatever, but don't use profanity with me because now I'm not even involved.
But then if I come from a household, a family, generations of cussers, right? That know how to conjugate cuss words.
Which he does.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, no shade to my family that may be watching, but you know, my family out there that's watching, you know, we humbug, right? And so
the funny part is, so does my family too. I'm just wondering where they got it from because I'm like, where was I?
Yeah, but no, it's, you know, if I came up in a household where emotion was expressed through profanity, right? And it wasn't necessarily a symbol of personal, right? We don't take it personal just because you drop a few F-bombs in the middle of an argument. That's you being passionate, right? Yeah. Once again, when I start to, because once again, you have the ability to empty somebody's tank too, right?
That's true.
You know, you can fill it, you can empty it, right?
Real quick.
But if I come from that environment and I don't understand that if we're having a disagreement and me starting to say it with my chest with 4-letter words, that doesn't solve the argument.
Right.
It empties your tank.
Right, it does.
Right.
Yeah,
and so now we're not even moving forward because you're not even in a place to have a discussion because you're just offended and disrespected.
Yeah.
You know, and so, you know, once again, we now have to challenge even our sort of conditioned norms around this stuff.
Yeah. I also like the other side of that is, so like in our household, we never said I love you. You know. And so once again, which is great affirmation, you know, to know that. I mean, to actually say it, not just with actions. And so we never use those words. And so to some languages you grow into because you don't even realize you need them.
Yeah.
Because what was normal, I never didn't think my family didn't love me.
Mm-hmm.
But what became normal now for me is I tell everybody that I love them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I hug them.
Yeah.
You know, I kiss them. You know, all ways of showing that that's my expression of love.
Mm-hmm.
But also we didn't grow up like that.
Right. That's a love language that you learned,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Because there was an event in your life
there was an event
that triggered that, right?
Yeah, my grandfather passed away. And so I was like, I didn't want anybody else in my family to not to hear those words.
Yeah.
Because I could not remember whether or not I had told my grandfather that I loved him. You know, like you said, when you were a kid, you know, it's your grandfather. And
right. You think
whatever.
they're going to be there forever, right? Yeah.
And so when I became an adult, I was like, man, you know, I don't know if I ever told him that.
Yeah.
Especially in person.
Yeah.
You know, and so after that event, I was like, I'll never live another day and not be able to tell people. Like I said, I probably didn't have language for that, what that was for. But like I said, understanding now what that love language is, it's okay. It was the love language I didn't know I needed.
Yeah.
You know, because some languages we don't know we need until we get it.
Right. And so if you look at that, I know, you know, just being, you know, that whole idea of being separated from somebody, right? I know you and your best friend, when she went away to college, that was a whole traumatic thing, right?
That was a whole thing.
You know, and so, you know, these events and tying into, okay, we don't want distance to sort of break the bond or the relationship. So I always want you to know, whether you're close or farther away, I love you, right? And,
absolutely.
And so the lesson learned for everybody from that is that love languages aren't just something that's just nature, right? Some of this is nurture, right?
Yeah,
some of this stuff
good,
is things that happen to us, things that occur in our lives that cause us to adopt different stances around love language. And so that's not something you were born with. That's not that wasn't a chemical or a DNA thing. There was a conscious choice that said, okay, from this point on, I'm going to live my life this way, you know?
I feel like love languages cause you to be intentional.
Yeah.
Like you said, there's intentionality behind that because it shifts your behavior in one way or another.
Yeah.
You know, all of them do. Like I said, all of those facts. And no matter what your love language is, it shifts behavior.
Yeah.
Especially, like I said, if I'm trying, because sometimes, like you said, I might have to teach you how to, you know, to love. You know, like you said, going back, you know, not to get like extra graphic, but, you know, like the physical touch. You know, like you said, if you don't know, it's okay to say, okay, this is what I like. Right. And to be able to have those conversations. Now, when we first got together early on in our marriage, I was like,
nobody's going to express anything.
I wasn't trying to have those conversations because they made me uncomfortable. Just because of some other things that had just happened in my life. Right. You know, but once I got healed from that, then we were able to have those conversations. Because, you know, I'm thinking I'm showing up as my best self and you're like, no, ma'am, that's not working, you know? And so, and that's not a dig. Right. It's just truth, you know? And so guess what I had to do? I had to learn how to do that. Yeah. I had to learn about physical touch and what that looks like, you know? And then the opposite of that is being able to express to you, like I said, that goes back to the self-awareness piece. Okay. Now that I'm healed from stuff. Here's what I enjoy. Here's what I enjoy. Right. Here's what, You know, so, this is, you know, just those two pieces to me are the most valuable pieces. Is the intentionality. It causes communication and the self-awareness. Because I think if you can grab hold of those two, then all of the love languages come alive.
And, you know, we're going to round it out here. You know, this also, it behooves us to be open to create the safe spaces for that sort of expression, right? And shut down language, invalidation, you know, regardless of how valid you think it is, when a person expresses how they want to be loved, they at least have the right to express it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's valid. It should be face valid. Whether
No,
whether it
that's true.
seems
Yeah.
rational to you or
That's
not,
true.
it should be face valid,
Yeah.
right? Now, it's real to sort of say, okay, can I grow to meet that need?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And acknowledging that I'm not in that space now. If you're in a committed
That's where the
relationship,
grace shows up.
yeah, that's where grace shows up. Now, if you're in a committed relationship and you're married, I have bad news for you if you're not in that place. Because you're now linked, you have now committed. Because once again, that's what the vows mean. That's what standing before God means, is that now I have to sort of deny myself and grow into the place where I can start to meet these needs, right?
Yeah.
But while you're dating, right, this is the place where you can start to understand your own needs, discuss these things with the other person, and then start to ask yourself the questions. Okay, if I'm going to be with this person for life, even with something that I'm not comfortable with, can I grow into filling that person's tank?
Yeah.
Yeah. And while you're dating, it's best to say, you know what? That's not something I can grow into.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not best for us to move forward, right?
Yeah. Because I totally agree. I think about Hannah.
Yeah.
And I always pray for her spouse because I'm like, oh boy.
Ooh,
I don't know.
I
don't know how he's going to be able to invade that space.
Yeah.
Because she's, she likes her own.
Yeah. And I know what that's like. I was very walled off. I mean, even when we got together, I was still very walled off, right?
Yeah.
There was a lot of mystery about me, right? And, I think when she meets the right person, some of those walls might come down, but it's going to be a long road, and someone will have to have a lot of grace because they may, if they have a rejection spirit, they're going to feel rejected, even though she's not rejecting them, right? It's just, she's
just reserved.
She's very reserved,
And so, like you said, what if you're with somebody who's reserved and they're just like, it's kind of like the quality time. Well, I don't, the talker versus the person that's quiet. You doing too much. I just need a minute to, and so like I said, but when you love somebody, you learn to listen.
Yeah. You learn what quality time means to them, right? So to them,
that's so key.
It could be talking. It could be listening. It could be, look, when we're together, you shut the world out, right? There's no other priority.
Right. No
phones, no phone calls,
games,
no nothing, right?
Yeah.
We're, no nothing, right?
Yeah.
But once again, that's between you and that person. Right? It's not universal.
That is true. I'm so glad you said that. It's definitely not universal.
Yeah.
And you do have to be able to communicate that.
Yeah. So those are some of the values of love languages. So they're not bad. We think if you look at them in the right lens, they can actually be useful tools for growing your relationship. So remember to like, share, and subscribe. Excuse me. Got a little burp in there. Like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications of when we publish content. Give us a commentary below on what you think about these love languages and the value.
Looking forward to reading all the comments.
Yeah. And we will be back with more insight into these languages. We're not done with it
We're not done yet.
So stay tuned, and we will be back with more in the future. Until the next one.
And guess what? I'm going to have a a different hairstyle when you see me again. Yes.
You kind of got your...
And different glasses, too. Y'all will be like, who's that? Yeah.
Hey. Watch out. It's like I'm dating somebody else.
All right now.
Watch out.
All right, guys.
We love you.
We love you.
Peace.